In the 1950s at Princeton University, the leaves outside the mathematics building gently swayed in the breeze, casting a golden hue across the campus. Students chatted in small groups, discussing courses and life, but Ethan always seemed out of place among them. Ethan had shown extraordinary mathematical talent from a young age, effortlessly solving complex problems. His parents were proud, but his genius also created a rift between him and his peers. Upon entering Princeton, his talent was further recognized, but his solitary nature made him stand out in a peculiar way. Every morning, Ethan was the first to enter the math department library. Dressed simply, with glasses perched on his high nose, his gaze was steady and focused. He would wander among the bookshelves, searching for valuable math books. Once he found what he was looking for, he would settle in a corner, immersing himself in complex formulas and theories. Despite Ethan's remarkable mathematical skills, his classmates kept their distance. Some thought he was arrogant, others found him too cold, and many simply didn't understand him, choosing to avoid him instead. Ethan didn't mind. He felt that as long as he had math to converse with, he could find inner satisfaction. However, one person noticed Ethan's uniqueness. Olivia, a smart and empathetic young woman, was one of Ethan's classmates. She loved math, but also enjoyed interacting with people. Always cheerful and helpful, Olivia observed that Ethan's eyes sparkled with wisdom when he answered questions in class, but he remained silent and withdrawn outside of it. One day, Olivia found Ethan diligently writing in the library. After a moment of hesitation, she decided to approach him. "Hi, Ethan. What are you working on?" Olivia asked with a smile. Ethan looked up, glanced at Olivia, and then softly replied, "Just some math problems." "You always solve those seemingly impossible problems," Olivia continued. "I've always admired you for that." Ethan frowned slightly, uncomfortable with the praise. "Thanks, but it's just my interest." Olivia sat across from Ethan, trying to break the ice. "Sometimes you could join us for discussions. We'd love to hear your thoughts." Ethan was silent for a moment, then said, "I'm not good at socializing. I prefer being alone." "That's okay. Everyone has their way. I just thought we could be friends if you'd like," Olivia said sincerely. A flicker of surprise crossed Ethan's eyes. He hadn't expected anyone to want to approach him, let alone Olivia. Her warm and genuine smile seemed to melt the loneliness in his heart. From that day on, Olivia would occasionally chat with Ethan in the library, sharing her study tips and stories from her life. At first, Ethan kept his distance, but gradually, he found himself looking forward to their conversations. Her cheerful and kind nature brought a long-missed warmth to his life. Ethan's life became less lonely with Olivia's presence. They discussed math problems together, participated in extracurricular activities, and slowly, Ethan began to integrate with his classmates. While he still enjoyed solitude, he was no longer the completely isolated person he once was. As time went by, Ethan achieved remarkable success in his mathematical research. His mentor, Dr. Harper, often praised his talent at academic conferences, showcasing Ethan's research accomplishments. Ethan's name started gaining recognition in the mathematical community, attracting significant interest from professors and researchers alike. However, behind this facade of brilliance, Ethan's mental state began to show signs of deterioration. He became increasingly withdrawn, and at times, he would suddenly become agitated in front of others. He started frequently checking his surroundings, as if searching for something or trying to avoid someone. One evening, Ethan was alone in the library, his eyes struggling to focus on the mathematical equations before him. He rubbed his eyes, trying to concentrate, but it was no use. Suddenly, he heard whispers, seemingly coming from all directions. He looked around, but the library was empty. Yet, The voices grew clearer. "They're watching me," Ethan muttered to himself, a look of anxiety crossing his face. He quickly gathered his books and hurried out of the library. The next day, Olivia noticed that Ethan seemed worse than ever. His eyes were unfocused, his expression distant, as if he were lost in thought about something crucial. She decided to find an opportunity to talk to him. "Ethan, you look exhausted. Has the work been too much lately?" Olivia asked, concerned. Ethan glanced at her, hesitated, then softly said, "Olivia, I think someone is watching me." "Watching you?" Olivia asked, surprised. "Why do you think that?" "I heard their voices. They're talking about me. They want to steal my research." Ethan's voice trembled, his eyes filled with fear. Realizing the seriousness of the situation, Olivia gently took Ethan's hand and said, "Ethan, I think you need some rest. Maybe you should talk to Dr. Harper." Ethan shook his head firmly. "No, I can't trust anyone. They could all be part of it." Olivia looked at Ethan with concern and sorrow. She knew that forcing him to see a doctor right now wouldn't be helpful. She decided to speak with Dr. Harper first. A few days later, Olivia approached Dr. Harper and explained Ethan's situation. Dr. Harper frowned, deep in thought, then said, "Ethan is a genius, but geniuses often bear pressures that others can't comprehend. He needs our help." Dr. Harper arranged a meeting with Ethan, trying to approach the issue with care and understanding. However, Ethan's mistrust of his mentor made the conversation difficult. He repeatedly mentioned fabricated government conspiracies, insisting that he had uncovered critical secrets. Dr. Harper understood that Ethan's condition had surpassed typical academic pressure. He decided to contact a psychologist, hoping to get professional help for Ethan. However, Ethan remained deeply skeptical, convinced that he was ensnared in a government conspiracy and that anyone trying to help him was part of it. "Olivia, you have to believe me. I know it sounds crazy, but it's real," Ethan urgently explained to Olivia during a conversation. Olivia looked into Ethan's pained and anxious eyes, feeling an immense sense of sorrow. She softly said, "Ethan, I believe you, but we need to find someone who can help you. Dr. Harper just wants to help. We all do." Though still filled with doubts, Ethan knew deep down that Olivia genuinely cared for him. He finally agreed to see a psychologist, though the entire process filled him with apprehension and unease. Ethan's condition continued to worsen, with his hallucinations and delusions becoming more frequent. His mental state fluctuated between moments of clarity and deep episodes of fear and anxiety. Despite these challenges, Olivia never gave up on him. Under Olivia's attentive care, Ethan's heart began to soften. Her warmth and steadfastness provided him with a sense of security and dependency he had never felt before. They shared many beautiful moments together, strolling through the tree-lined paths of the campus, discussing mathematical problems, and even occasionally catching a movie. Whenever Ethan was overcome with pain and confusion, Olivia was always there, soothing him with her gentle words. As time passed, Ethan's feelings for Olivia deepened. He realized that he didn't just rely on her. He had fallen in love with her. This realization brought him both joy and anguish, as his mental illness made their relationship extraordinarily complicated. Ethan found himself caught in a powerful emotional storm, torn between his intense feelings for Olivia and his deep-seated fear that his condition would drag her down and jeopardize her happiness. Despite this internal battle, he couldn't help but cling to his affection for her. Meanwhile, Olivia was wrestling with her own emotions. She cared deeply for Ethan, but she was already in a relationship with James. James was a kind and ordinary man who understood and supported Olivia's choices. Although he was puzzled by Ethan's situation, He respected Olivia's dedication to him. One weekend afternoon, Olivia and James sat in a cafe, discussing Ethan's condition. James, holding his coffee cup thoughtfully, said, "Olivia, I know you care a lot about Ethan, and I understand your reasons, but you also need to think about your own happiness." Olivia sighed softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "James, I can't abandon Ethan. He needs me, and I care about him too. His condition is severe, but I believe he can get better." James took her hand gently, saying, "I respect your decision, but please take care of yourself too. I'll support you no matter what you decide." A few days later, Ethan experienced a severe hallucination and became extremely agitated. Olivia rushed to his side, trying to calm him down, but Ethan, gripped by his delusions, refused any help. "Olivia, they're here again. They're coming for me," Ethan shouted, his eyes wild with terror and despair. Olivia held him tightly, her voice soothing. "Ethan, listen to me. None of this is real. You need to calm down. We can face these problems together." Ethan struggled initially, but under Olivia's comforting presence, he gradually calmed down. He looked at Olivia, his eyes filled with conflicting emotions. "Olivia, I don't want to burden you. I'm so scared." Olivia gently stroked his hair, her voice firm. "You're not a burden. We will face this together. You're not alone. I'll always be by your side." In the following days, Olivia, Dr. Harper, and James worked together to help Ethan receive more systematic treatment. Though Ethan remained deeply entangled in his hallucinatory world, Olivia's unwavering support and companionship brought him a glimmer of hope. Their relationship deepened amidst these trials, yet they faced unprecedented challenges. Ethan's love for Olivia made him tender, but his illness rendered this love complex and burdensome. Despite the struggle, Olivia's commitment never wavered. She continued to be a beacon of light for Ethan, guiding him through his darkest moments with unwavering devotion. Their journey was far from easy, but the bond they shared gave Ethan the strength to keep fighting, knowing that love and hope could transcend even the most daunting obstacles. Ethan's condition grew progressively worse. His hallucinations and delusions became more frequent, severely impacting his academic research and daily life. His projects stalled. He made frequent errors in class, and occasionally he would be overwhelmed by panic attacks during lectures, losing control entirely. Dr. Harper noticed these alarming signs and knew he had to take action. One day, during a lecture, Ethan succumbed to another hallucination, fleeing the classroom in a panic. Dr. Harper and Olivia chased after him, trying to calm him, but Ethan was beyond reach. He muttered about people watching him and secret government conspiracies, his face etched with pain. "Ethan, you need help. We can't wait any longer," Dr. Harper said firmly, his eyes full of concern. Olivia gently held Ethan's hand, tears in her eyes. "Ethan, please, let's go to the hospital. We're all here for you. You won't face this alone." Ethan's eyes were filled with fear and helplessness, but he finally realized he couldn't continue like this. He nodded and whispered, "Okay, I'll go." With Dr. Harper and Olivia by his side, Ethan was taken to a specialized mental health hospital. There, they met Dr. Wilson, an experienced psychiatrist. Dr. Wilson greeted Ethan warmly, carefully assessed his condition, and devised a comprehensive treatment plan. "Ethan, your condition requires a combination of medication and psychotherapy. We'll do everything we can to help you recover," Dr. Wilson said with confidence. Ethan began his long journey of treatment. Medication helped to calm him, but the side effects left him feeling exhausted and weak. In therapy sessions, Dr. Wilson patiently guided Ethan to confront his hallucinations and delusions, helping him to gradually understand that they were not real. At first, Ethan was resistant and skeptical about the treatment. He couldn't accept that he had a mental illness, clinging to the belief that his hallucinations were real. Yet, Olivia remained by his side, offering endless support and encouragement. Whenever Ethan was overcome with pain and despair, Olivia would hold his hand and softly say, "Ethan, we'll get through this together. You have to believe in yourself and in us." Over time, Ethan began to trust Dr. Wilson and started to confront his condition. He learned that his symptoms were due to schizophrenia, a treatable and manageable illness. Though the process was arduous, with Olivia and the treatment team's support, he slowly started to accept reality. During one profound therapy session, Dr. Wilson asked, "Ethan, when do you think these hallucinations started?" Ethan thought for a moment, recalling those painful times. "I think it began during college. The pressure kept building, and I always felt like I was being watched. Then I started hearing those voices." Dr. Wilson nodded. "That's normal. Symptoms of schizophrenia often intensify under stress. Remember, this isn't your fault, and it's not something you can't control. With treatment, you will get better." Ethan felt a small measure of comfort from these words. He realized he wasn't alone. Many people cared about him and were helping him, especially Olivia, whose presence provided him with unprecedented strength and courage. In the hospital, Ethan and Olivia's relationship deepened. Olivia visited him daily, bringing his favorite books and music, and staying with him through the tough times. Her smile and words were like sunshine, illuminating the dark corners of Ethan's mind. After several months of treatment, Ethan's condition improved. His hallucinations and delusions diminished, and he began to rediscover himself and the beauty of life. He knew this recovery was thanks to Olivia and the treatment team. One day, while walking in the hospital garden, Olivia approached Ethan and said softly, "Ethan, you've come a long way. I'm so proud of you." Ethan looked at her, his eyes filled with gratitude and love. "Olivia, thank you for always being here for me. I don't know how I would have made it without you." Olivia smiled and replied, "You're very strong, Ethan. The road ahead is still long, but we'll walk it together." Years later, on a bright morning at Princeton University, Ethan walked into the familiar mathematics building. This time, his steps were firm, and his eyes were filled with hope and confidence. After years of treatment, his condition was effectively managed, and he could finally return to his beloved mathematical research. Ethan resumed his research, and his extraordinary talent quickly regained recognition in the academic community. He published a series of important papers, attended various academic conferences, and became a rising star in the field of mathematics. During this time, Olivia was always by Ethan's side, offering endless support and understanding. Their relationship deepened throughout the treatment process, and their bond grew stronger. However, Olivia's relationship with James became strained due to Ethan's presence. James, though understanding of Olivia's decisions, gradually realized that her heart was entirely with Ethan. Their arguments became more frequent, and ultimately, James made a difficult decision. "Olivia, I know you love Ethan. I can't stand in the way of your feelings for him. I hope you find true happiness," James said calmly, though his eyes were filled with sorrow and regret. With tears in her eyes, Olivia gently embraced James. "Thank you, James. I appreciate your understanding and support all this time." They parted ways amicably, and Olivia devoted herself fully to her future with Ethan. She knew that Ethan still faced challenges with his illness, but she was willing to walk beside him, no matter how difficult the road ahead. With the help of Dr. Harper and Dr. Wilson, Ethan gradually learned how to manage his condition. He received regular treatment, maintained healthy habits, and became mentally stronger. He understood that while he might never completely escape the shadow of his illness, he could learn to coexist with it. Years later, Ethan was invited to give a speech at an international mathematics conference. It was a significant moment in his life. Standing on the stage, he looked out at the audience filled with scholars and students, feeling a deep sense of gratitude and pride. Dear colleagues, I am honored to stand here today and share my research with you. Mathematics is not just about numbers and formulas. It is the key to exploring the mysteries of the universe and the light of my life, Ethan said with a smile, his eyes shining with wisdom. His words were filled with power and hope, and the audience erupted into applause. Olivia sat in the front row, tears in her eyes, feeling incredibly proud of Ethan. After the speech, Ethan stepped down from the stage and Olivia rushed to him, embracing him tightly. "You were amazing, Ethan." Ethan smiled, his eyes filled with love. "Thank you, Olivia. I couldn't have made it here without you." Hand in hand, they walked out of the conference hall, the sunlight bathing them, as if symbolizing the new life they were about to embrace together. Though the road ahead was still filled with challenges, they knew that as long as they had each other, they could overcome any obstacle and welcome a future full of hope and possibilities.